Bowser, everyone's favorite short-tempered plumber-assaulting Koopa. Sometimes he's a super strong, intimidating villain, and other times he's a hot-headed moron that's kind of a simp. Today, we're gonna look at Bowser's character in every mainline Mario game and rank him from worthless to elite. Starting with the OG Super Mario Bros., he's a pretty threatening bad guy. The manual says the tribe of turtles is famous for black magic and turns all the mushroom people into bricks and stones. That's some bad shit right there. Throughout the game, his figure guards every castle, and while he himself doesn't step up until World 8-4, all of his troops protecting the castles are made in his superior image. These imitation Bowser fights get progressively harder, and he throws a bunch of hammers that can be a real pain to avoid. I'd say that earns him a pretty menacing tier, because he's a prominent figure in every single world and terrorizes the inhabitants of the Mushroom Kingdom more so than most other games. And since the Lost Levels is basically the same deal, that'll go right up there with it. Mario 2 USA is one of the only mainline games to not include Bowser in any shape or form, so unfortunately, he gone. This time around, he brings his kids into the mix. They each transform a world's king into some kind of animal and rule over the land themselves. While he doesn't do as much, he coordinates the entire operation, and has a somewhat capable leader in place for every kingdom he plans to conquer. But after that fails and the brothers restore all 7 worlds, he kidnaps Peach in desperation and takes her to his realm, the Dark Land. This is kinda pointless and is really only done to get back at Mario for thwarting his plans, but this final world is one of the hardest in the Mario series, so that's gotta be worth something. I think it deserves another pretty menacing tier. He successfully takes over 7 kingdoms at one point, and turning the kings into helpless creatures was a smart move on his part. But wait a minute, didn't Miyamoto confirm this was just a stage play and not actually real? Well yeah, but it's a video game, none of it's real, and what we see from him here is one of his better attempts at world domination, so...
Hey Meta, know any recipes for
Just like Mario 3, in Super Mario World, Bowser has the Koopalings help him guard 7 castles overlooking his latest empirical expansion. But this time he's in Dinosaur Land, and leaves the Mushroom Kingdom alone for a minute. Even still, he goes out of his way to kidnap Peach while she's on vacation, which doesn't really make any sense when she's not the ruler of the land he's currently trying to acquire, and really just draws more attention to him than anything. Because of that, I'm tossing him in typical bad guy tier, because his motives are still to take over new lands, and he does trap all the native Yoshis and eggs, so he goes pretty far, but the whole Peach thing takes it down a notch. In Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island, Bowser's a baby, so maybe it's not fair to judge him, but I always do, because he still plays a massive role in the story. He's the main antagonist alongside Kamek, but being small boy, Kamek serves as his father figure throughout the game, and does most of the bad stuff himself. Baby Luigi's kidnapped by Kamek, the enemy forces are called Kamek's forces, and Baby Bowser just throws fits and abuses his caretaker, making this a very straightforward, worthless tier. Bowser's plan in Mario 64 is an interesting one. Instead of kidnapping Peach and taking her to one of his own castles, he creates a bunch of worlds inside the paintings in her castle and locks Peach and the Toads away in them. If Peach's castle is the heart of the Mushroom Kingdom, it makes sense for Bowser to want to take it over, and despite not being filled with typical Bowser propaganda and decor, it maintains a very creepy feel throughout. I don't know if that was intentional, but this place is super empty, and the things that are there are toads that vanish when you walk away, and a lot of straight up ghosts. He's a prominent boss throughout the game too, making an appearance in 3 separate Bowser areas, so it's pretty standard stuff, and I think that places him in typical bad guy tier. This iteration of Bowser has got to be the weirdest motive for kidnapping Peach of any of these games. It's heartwarming in a twisted kind of way, but is very out there for a series that strives to have as little story as possible. Bowser Jr. frames Mario for polluting the beautiful Isle Delfino to get him locked up and therefore unable to save Princess Peach. Why do they want Peach though? Is it to rule the Mushroom Kingdom, marry a princess and become a true king, to kill her and get back at Mario for all those years of thwartings? Or is it to give Jr. a mother figure because you're a struggling single father? Yeah, not what you'd expect from a Mario game, but it's somewhat noble to say the least, and it just barely keeps him out of worthless. Weird, but aight. In Mario 64 DS, it's basically the same case as the original game, but this time, Yoshi's the only playable character available at the start of the game. Mario, Luigi, and Wario frolic into Peach's castle right at the beginning, but go missing shortly after, presumably because Bowser caught them and locked them up. If he was able to kidnap his arch enemies, in addition to an otherwise pretty great attempt at taking over the Mushroom Kingdom, I think that earns him his first Elite tier. In New Super Mario Bros. DS, Bowser takes a step back like he did in Sunshine, making Bowser Jr. do most of the dirty work while he hangs out with Peach back at the castle. Jr.'s the one that kidnaps her, guards every middle castle, and brings his dad back to life after he dies in a pit of lava. It kinda paints Bowser as a little incompetent. And sure, he fights alongside Jr. as the final boss, and has 2 fights of his own, but this is about as worthless as adult Bowser can get. Super Mario Galaxy is another pretty easy Elite tier for Bowser. His plans are much bigger than taking over the puny Mushroom Kingdom this time around. He tries to take over the entire universe and create his very own galaxy to rule it from. He shows up to the Star Festival with an armada of menacing Bowser ships, terrorizes massive crowds, and rips Peach's castle straight out of the ground with her in it. The cinematic presentation makes him look more intimidating than he's ever been depicted, and makes the stakes feel so much higher. This man means business, and will stop at nothing to conquer the universe. Good luck, because this is peak Bowser. Then Mario Bros. Wii goes a completely different direction. He has the Koopalings do his biddings once again, and doesn't show up until the final fight, which is admittedly one of the best 2D Bowser fights ever. It starts off like any ordinary fight. Push button, get mortgage. But after Kamek sprinkles some pixie dust on him, he grows to a gargantuan size where he just slashes through unbreakable walls and breathes fireballs bigger than Mario. The gameplay of this fight puts your pure platforming skills to the test, which any good boss fight in a platforming game should do, and the grand, intense music paired with it fits so well. But even with that said, it boils down to kidnap Peach, take over Mushroom Kingdom. It's not a unique plan, and he doesn't terrorize anybody besides Mario and a couple Toads, so he'll go typical bad guy. Galaxy 2 is basically a retelling of the original game, so it's going right up there with it. Bowser kidnaps Peach and sends Mario on an expedition to rescue her, but this time his motive just makes no fucking sense. He wants to steal all the super leaves from the tree outside Peach's castle, because surely his troops will be stronger with tails. I'm sorry, that's stupid. In New Super Mario Bros. 2, he's basically the same as he was in Wii. Awesome boss fight at the end, minimal role throughout the game, and a pretty generic princess kidnapping plan. This game tries to be different. Instead of having Bowser yoink Peach, he just takes over her castle and keeps her there. So it's sorta like 64, but here he adapts the castle to look way more like one of his own. Still, he's not present at all throughout the game, and this final boss is the lamest of the New Super Mario tetralogy. He'll sit comfortably in typical bad guy. 3D World has Bowser tormenting a different kingdom and its inhabitants, the Sprixies. I guess they have some power or something that he wants, and it's really just an excuse for Peach to be playable, and I'm not complaining. The amusement park Bowser builds is fucking sick. Has some of the jazziest music and most flashy visuals of any Mario game. Most of the time when you're battling with him, he's in this sweet ride. But for the final fight, he uses a cat bell and turns into Meowser. It's pretty funny to look at, but it's still a very innovative and fun battle. I think he earns a pretty menacing tier. Not because he looks like a cat, but this world Bowser kinda says it all. It's the Mario version of Eggman Land, and I gotta give it some credit. In Mario Run, Bowser snags Peach as per usual, but also smashes the Mushroom Kingdom to bits, instead of trying to take it over. And throughout the game, the main goal besides saving Peach is recruiting Toads and funding this massive rebuild. He gives Mario a lot more work to do, but doesn't seem like more of a threat than usual. Typical. This one's another odd motive for Bowser's schemes. He doesn't seek world domination! He seeks the princess's hand in marriage. Without consent. Yeah, that's it. There's no ulterior motive. He just wants a taste of that peach. Pretty self-explanatory where this one's going. This game's literally named after him. Elite! I know I said Galaxy's Bowser was the most menacing, but I guess I lied. This puts that Bowser to shame and loads him up on all kinds of steroids. He's so big and powerful that he affects the weather going on around him. He's full of pure rage, and his design is much darker and more evil looking than we've ever seen. If you don't have the Giga Bell, you're kinda f***ed, and Mario knows it. He doesn't even try attacking, he just runs around hiding until Bowser cools down. So Elite is the only spot that works here. In Mario Wonder, he decides to mess with the Flower Kingdom for a change of scenery, and I guess to harvest the power of the Wonder Flowers. It sounds good on paper, but what does he plan on doing with the Wonder Flowers? Turn himself into a castle, because why the f not? Now, it is kind of a badass flex on the kingdom, and he does imprison the Poplin population, but I'm sorry, the whole Castle Bowser world at the end just feels like a ripoff of World Bowser in 3D World. And the fight against him at the end, spoiler alert, was way too easy and uninspired. It balances out, and while he's anything but normal here, he'll go typical bad guy. And there you have it. Real quick, if you take your Nintendo Switch on the go a lot and wish it was easier to lug around, you gotta ditch that clunky old dock. It's bulky, flimsy, and really doesn't have a good reason to be. And Accelerate Gaming's portable dock is the solution you've been waiting for. It cuts the unnecessary plastic of Nintendo's and gives you a sleek, durable, and very portable alternative. And it's only 20 bucks, so if you want to enhance your Switch setup and support this channel, go grab one now and use code JeremyK to get an additional 10% off your order. There's a very limited amount of uses on that, so redeem it while you can. And if you disagree with me on any of the rankings in this video, leave your takes down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video and want to watch more like it, click on the How Useless is Blank playlist, or check out the video below it about why Bowser isn't the main bad guy in these Mario games. Thank you so much for watching.